this responsibility of parenting that we have engaged in consciously, but in some cases not planned, but that we are undertaking, we are victorious by God's grace. We are victorious. We're raising children who will impact their generation, who would be beacons of light, who will stand out in their generation, who will be examples of the values that we put in them. All right, so yes, we are victorious. All of us together, we are victorious. Good evening this evening. For people that will be seeing this much later, how you doing? How are the children? How is the family? How has your day been? How is your day going to be? In case you're saying this very early in the morning. Alright, so let's get to it. Today we're discussing settling sibling squabbles, right? Squabbles are minor disagreements. Now, I'm choosing to pick it up from here. We're not approaching this from the perspective of issues that are long-standing, maybe siblings that can't stand each other, or who don't want anything to do with each other, who are not concerned, or who are in competition with each other, siblings who are jealous, who don't appreciate their siblinghood, right? I'm approaching this from the angle of when they're little, when you can do something about it, right? Because once they're adults, you can only hope as a parent, and yeah, we don't want it to get that bad. So squabbles, minor disagreements at home, sharing toys, arguing about this and that, finding how would I put it, pitting the parents against each other, right? Or pitting the parent against the other sibling, right? Reporting. Those are some of the issues that I deal with. Reporting and minor things that happen around the house. You want to get a handle on them before they become long-standing, before the children are grown and they remember their sibling, and what comes out of their hearts is not pleasant. It's not pleasant thoughts. They have this idea that one sibling was more important to the parent than the other, right? These things happen, and one sibling has the idea that they are not as valuable or as important to the parents. Now, this is most likely their perception. Most parents will tell you, parents of grown children now will tell you, no, there was nothing like that. I was fair. But if the child you say you were fair to doesn't feel you were fair, then there's something that you could have done better, right? There are adjustments that you could have made. So what I'm discussing today is to help you get ahead of that kind of situation. So my first question to you as a parent would be, what do you want? What kind of relationship do you want your children to have with each other? That's the foundation. That's the origin. That's the basis. What kind of future do you see? Right? I talk about the law of time perspective a lot because it's sensible and it's reasonable to think of the future while making decisions today. Because it won't make much sense when you get to that future and then you start making choices that can't affect the past. I mean, what's the point in that? Right? So think about tomorrow and make decisions based on that tomorrow that you see today so that you can predict it. Because, like my pastor would say, Pastor Samademi, success is predictable. There are principles. So if you follow those principles, even if you don't get to the highest of the highest peak, you will come close, right? Something we all heard as children is if you don't plan, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail, right? It doesn't matter whether you're actively working towards failure. The moment you have you're not making conscious choices in the particular direction of succeeding at something. Maybe usually it's talked about at our educational experiences, like you're in school, you're studying, you're preparing for an exam. If you don't plan to succeed at that course or at that subject, then you're planning to fail. It's calculated, so to speak. So what do you see as a parent, as a visionary parent, right? What do you see? What future do you see of these children? Do you see children who love each other, whose children play with each other? Are you able to conceive that future in your heart, in your mind towards them? When you see them now, do you see them in that future, in that space of existing together in harmony? Do you see that? You have to be able to see it to work towards it. Now, the moment you have that picture in your heart, and it's important to you as a parent that your children grow up in harmony and they love each other and they respect each other, and the older does not lord it over the younger, and the younger is not does not feel like it's an obligation to respect their older one, but there's actual regard, right? Regard and love and respect between them. Now, I'm looking at the Nigerian perspective of when somebody is older than you, they're older than you, and that's that. As a younger person, you can't have an opinion, you can't have a perspective to anything. Your senior has said something, and that's about that. No, it doesn't work like that. If you want to, if you take into consideration that they will become adults with their areas of expertise, with their areas of gifting, then you would understand that there are some things that the older one will not be aware of or will not know very well, like what the younger one would know. All right. So if I look at my situation now, there are a lot of things that my younger brother would say that I would have to open my mind and say, oh, okay, all right, that's how that happens, because it's not my field. Now, it'd be foolish of me to insist and say, no, maybe we want to make a decision, a family decision, for instance. If it's his area of expertise, then I should defer to him. That's reasonable. But the African type of upbringing that we run around here, once you are older than a person, then automatically all your thoughts, all your decisions are more important or are superior. It's not so. So if you see a future where your children can defer to each other regardless of who is older, where they have mutual respect for each other, then you will be willing to do whatever it takes to work towards that future. I've talked about planning to fail. Not planning to succeed is the same thing as planning to fail. So you have to take active steps. You have to be conscious about it. You have to be intentional about it. It has to be deliberate. You are seeing that future and you're working towards it. So you are making choices on a daily basis in the direction of that future that you see concerning your children. Now, they will have squabbles, right? Yes, we should let wrong mindsets go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, your children will have squabbles. They will disagree. You and your spouse, or you and your colleague, you and your siblings disagree. So it's not out of place for children to have issues. Now, what they do with those issues, how they respond to those issues, are usually the problem. So as a parent, you need to set ground rules. That is what I would describe as family values. You need to have a preset mindset, perspective, the way we handle things in your home. Some things should be unacceptable. If you don't outlaw certain things, if you don't categorically say that some things are unacceptable, then don't be surprised when your children try it out. It's logical that way. If you don't say, for instance, no hitting, if you don't have a no hitting rule in your home, then when your children disagree and they scratch at each other, then you should not be surprised, because you have not laid the ground rules, right? I should talk about perceptual code here. For you as a parent, you should have, I've talked about it before, right, in my previous sessions, but let me quickly rehash it. You should have a perceptual code for your children. A word that describes who they are, your perception of them, your opinion of them, that embodies that description. And that determines your reactions to them, how you treat them, decisions that you make concerning them, choices that you make about them, how you communicate with them. All of that description contains the roadmap, the descriptive actions that you take towards your child. Now, if you have a perceptual code towards your child, or children in this case, then they should have the same idea towards each other. Example, I like to use it a lot. I will use it again today. Prince George of England is third in line to the throne after his father. He's a prince. There is nothing he can do that will take that title away from him. There is nothing. He is a prince by blood. He's of royalty, and that's that about that. If he comes back from school with one foot of his shoe, then rather, that doesn't change anything. If he comes back home barefooted with his shirt torn, it doesn't change anything. If he breaks a vase in the house, it doesn't change anything. He's a prince, and that's that. And everybody around him is aware of this. They cannot say because he did something, then he's no longer who he is. No, he is who he is, right? They say these things about this thing about lions can't eat grass. It is who they are. No matter how hungry they are in the jungle, they eat flesh, and that's that about that. You can't change. It's an identity. Okay, so if Prince George is royalty, and you see your child in the same capacity, quote unquote, not royalty of England, but royalty to you, perceptual code is royalty, then your children should see each other the same way. So if there are ground rules in the house that reinforce that idea that they are princes or princesses or royalty, or whichever word you choose, or ambassadors, or whatever word you choose to describe your child as, then everybody must act towards each other in line with those rules. Does that make sense? I think it does. So if you can't shout at a prince, then one prince cannot shout at the other prince. That makes sense, right? So once you have a list of family values, and remember, you are a member of the family, so these rules apply to you too. You are their first role model. You are the example. You are the Bible that they read, if you will. You are the one who shows them the way things are done. So if you see them that way and you handle them that way, and you have a list that everybody abides by, then you have mitigated several issues. If from when they're young, if your children are very young, this is helpful for you. If you set the rules now, under no circumstance do we use foul language against each other, no matter what. No matter how upset you get, you don't speak to your sibling a certain way. You don't say you're stupid, you're foolish, no. And as their role model, you don't speak to them that way either. It's how you speak to them, that's how they will speak to each other. They might not do it in your presence, but you will normalize it. If you're a hitter, if you hit them, they will hit each other. You can't be surprised that a child that you slap around slaps his younger ones or one around. It will be surprising. I will be surprised if you're surprised that happens, because you have given them the license to do it. And you can't come and say, so because I beat your brother, you think it's okay for you to be you can't. How? If you say it, it will be hypocritical, and the child will look at you like, seriously? It's what you do. So you have a role to play. Once those ground rules are set, once you have your family values in place, love, respect, what are our own family values? Love, respect, excellence, service, positivity. They just added that. My boys just added, our sons just added positivity and respect. So we had to redo the family values, right? That was entirely their decision. So once you have those ground rules, then every action that anybody engages towards the other, they're guided by these rules. It's important. If you don't have that, whatever you try to build, this is the framework, this is the structure that you're building their relationship on. You're not waiting until they fight. You're setting the rules for them to abide by, for them to live as they live together. When fighting or disagreements or squabbles occur, then they are bound by these rules. You have taught them you don't hit. We treat each other with respect. We speak to each other politely. We think about it. What do you want? That's where I started from. What do you see? What picture do you see? If you see a kind of picture, then create ground rules, house rules, or whatever you want to put it, and whatever way you want to describe it. Create rules around what you see. So once those are in place, then you can remind them. You can say, you spoke to your brother this way. It's unacceptable. Remember so and so and so and so. You have something to rely on. And it's not at the point where emotions are high, when everybody is upset, that you're trying to teach a family value. That's not going to work. Nobody is ready to listen. Especially personally, if I am in a heightened emotional state. When you say calm down, excuse me, that's when calming down is not the quickest thing, right? It's not the easiest thing. When you hear calm down, it almost infuriates you further. Like, what do you mean? Are you saying I don't have a right to be upset? We're not talking about me, we're talking about your children. So before there are issues, put rules in place, put guidelines in place, put a structure in place. When we fight, we should not forget who we are fighting with. When we are upset, we should not forget who we are upset with. This is useful for communication with couples too. Even when we are upset, this is as far as we can go. There are some things we don't say to each other, because even when the issue is over, then you don't forget those words, right? They still ring in your mind. Or something happens and then there's a trigger, and then you remember that last week somebody said you were not even smart at all. And it bites deeper when it's somebody that you care about. Those words hit deeper. Sometimes you are even spoken to by a random person on social media, and you're like, can you just imagine this person saying so and so and so to me? That's somebody that you don't know. But when you're in a relationship with somebody and the person says something that is unkind to you, it enters. It enters a little bit more than if it were someone that you didn't even know. So set ground rules in your home for communication, for feedback, right? I've moved to another point now. You should have a feedback system, and that's why it's recommended for you to have family meetings periodically, weekly if you can, bi-monthly, twice a week, whatever works for you with your family situation, the age of your children, whatever works for you. But have a frequent meeting where everyone can bear their minds. Everyone can bear their minds. It's even advised for you to have an open day where nobody gets to take offense, but you can say what you mean. You can say it the way the person, whatever it is the person has done to you, you can say it like you mean it. Now, we in my own family, we don't have a particular day for that, but there's open communication. We receive a lot of feedback, and sometimes it enters from the children, but we take it in good faith, as long as it's respectful. That's why ground rules are important. And if it's tilting towards disrespect, then you're able to bring the child back and say, no, I understand what you're trying to say, or I understand that you're giving feedback, but you should be respectful about it. And then there's an apology, and then we go back to the issue in a respectful manner. Okay, there's no fight. So our policy is open communication. Say what you mean. Someone has done something you don't like, say it to them. And we're teaching the boys, when they bring back, I talked about reporting earlier. When they report, the first question usually from my husband and I is, have you told your brother? Have you had a conversation with your brother? Let him know what he said hurt your feelings. Let him know that you didn't like what he said and all of that. And because they are growing, sometimes they use it wrongly. And you can hear my little one, a 5-year-old, say something like, he's hurting my feelings. And then you ask why. He took my crayon. How is your crayon and hurting? But then it's not my job to judge. If his feelings are hurt, his feelings are hurt. Moving on to what you're supposed to teach your children. As a parent, you should be equipped with information, equipped with knowledge, because when your children have these emotions, you need to tell them what to do with it. You need to validate their emotions. You don't go like, so that's why you're crying, because your bread fell. That's why you're crying. Remember that to your child, especially the younger ones, children under 5, when they're upset about something, when something has happened, they are learning to cope with their emotions, right? To them, everything is upside down. to some of us adults too. Once one thing goes wrong, maybe we have plans. Some of us cholerics. When something has gone wrong, it's like the whole world is going to come crashing down. Now, that is you who has had 30, 40 years of experience of learning and growing on this planet. Now, think about a child who has been around for 3, 4 years. They get upset over the color of spoon. Don't invalidate that. To them, that is the worst of the worst things that can happen. And as a parent, what do you want to do? You want to give them the color of the spoon so that the issue can calm down a little bit. But as they grow, you need to teach them what to do with those emotions. So, for instance, your child is upset about something, and you've noticed that they may tend to lash out. You want to teach them to be able to calm themselves. So an example would be to tell them to count from 10 to 1 before they react, which converts a reaction to a response. Because in those 10 seconds, counting from 10 to 1, they are able to calm down and then make a decision. Do I want to make an issue out of this matter, or do I want to is it that big of a deal? In that short period of time, hi sis, welcome, thank you for joining. Do I want to make an issue of this matter? They're able to come to that decision, and it takes practice, right? Children learn to make decisions by making decisions, so they're practicing. As they grow older and they are equipped with these skills, then they're able to learn not to fly off the handle. So they're upset, but they can process, take a short while to process, and then choose to respond, not react. If you teach your child from when they are young, the people in their lives would be appreciative of having them around, because it's people like that you hear that, and they don't get angry. They get angry, but they have it under control. Not like people who they're angry and they come out guns blazing, 0 to 1,000 degrees. They don't have control over that emotion, even as an adult. But you can help your child learn that. So, I've given you one tool now. If you find out that your child gets agitated, or they go to from 0 to 1,000, or they feel they need to respond or scatter ground, or whatever, teach them. Count from 10 to 1. Another point I should mention here is the rapport that you have with your children. It is important. It's the bedrock of everything. Parenting is a relationship. That's all it is. It's relationship. It's understanding. It's taking the time to grow a relationship with the investment of time and love and attention and care and meeting the person halfway and this and that. There are several elements to it, but your child should trust you. So when you tell your child this is what you should do, because they trust you, then they will try it out. And as they see that it works, as they grow older, then they'll be able to bring other issues that they are managing to you, because you have given them something that works. Remember, you have to keep learning. You have to keep growing. You have to keep reading articles about parenting, about self-esteem, about solving problems, about attending a session such as this, about handling sibling squabbles, right? So let me go over what I've said before. Decide on what you want. Have a picture of the future that you see, the relationship that you see of your children in future. Have that picture in mind. Once that picture is settled, then you're able to do whatever it takes to get there. Secondly, lay down ground rules. You need family values. You need a framework. You need a structure that guides the actions and behavior of everybody towards each other in the home. And you are the chief role model. You are the example that they see. So you don't get to step outside those rules. You are guided by those rules because they are learning from you. And I should mention here that how you handle yourself, you're teaching them. They're learning and they are copying. Like I said, you can't hit your child and be surprised that they hit each other. You are the one that taught them to hit. Okay? You can't say, so because I beat your brother, I think it's okay to beat him. Yes. Yes. They think it's okay to be because you have done that. So if you're able to keep your emotions in check and not fly off the handle, then you're teaching them that it is possible. They may not know how, but they know that it is possible. So when you give them a tool, like I suggested, counting from 10 back to 1, then they realize that, okay, if she can do it, if he can do it, that's mommy and daddy now, then I can do it as well. And they can practice. Now, are there times that you're going to go from that 0 to 1,000? Yes. Perfection is a goal, okay? So I'm not suggesting that you become perfect at handling everything right here, right now. But you must grow. You are the adult in the room. You must get better, right? You must get better. As they see you grow, then their growth is possible, okay? So you must get better at handling yourself. When they do something that is wrong, if you are the shouting parent, then you have to rein it back. Otherwise, they will shout at each other. And when they shout at each other, it is the multiplier effect of that is unpredictable, because your children have different temperaments. Now, some children can handle being shouted at. Sometimes they even shout back. And you now say, no, is it me you're shouting at? It's you. It's you that they are shouting at. But some other children would retreat. And if they are the kind of children that their self-esteem is naturally fragile, then you will be causing problems that you will deal with in future. So they are all intertwined. The reason we say don't shout at your children is because it's not good for their self-esteem. But more importantly, you're teaching them that shouting is an okay means of communication. So they will shout at each other, and you don't want that. That is also a sibling a squabble, right? And like I said, as a parent, you can't focus on it's okay for the older one to do something to the younger one, something that is not okay, against the family values, if you will. But when the younger one does it, it suddenly becomes an issue. You have to be fair and you have to be consistent. And I have told you, the future that you see of 2, 3, 4, 5 siblings in harmony with each other, not in competition, who raise their children together, who live maybe in close proximity with each other, who have a fantastic relationship, who can run a business together, or whatever. If you see that future, then go after it and do what is necessary to achieve that future. Remember the law of time perspective. Yes, take tomorrow into consideration while making decisions today, right? So I've talked about perceptual code, I've talked about value system, children who respect each other. You are their role model, you are the example. So I'm just going to give a few practical tips now. Say a squabble happens tonight. Something happens between your children tonight. These are some of the things that you can do to build a relationship now. Set them in positions where they have to do teamwork. Now, I've talked about you not planning for that future is the same thing as planning for the value of that future. So, create opportunities for them to work together in teams. You're fostering their bond. You're teaching, you're making their bond stronger. So, set them up to play games, maybe against you and your husband or your wife, while they're on the same team, right? So they work together. They work together. They are able to figure things out together. You're teaching them to lean on each other, to trust each other, right? Not that putting 2 children in a t-shirt thing that was making rounds on social media recently. That's wrong. 2 children who are upset with each other, who are already annoyed and angry with each other, forcing them to wear a t-shirt is not it. It's closer to abusing their feelings, because you're invalidating what they are feeling at that point in time, and you're telling them, I don't care whether this person did something to you or that person did something to you, you just must walk around in the same shirt. And you're building resentment, and you don't want that. You want them to genuinely enjoy each other's company and also respect each other's boundaries. So you want them to have an organic, respectful relationship with each other, right? So teamwork is going to help you, and they can They have to work together to solve problems. Let me use my situation as an example. When the boys are arguing about what to watch on their TV, my simple suggestion is, should we put it off? Should we put the TV off? And if they say no, what to, then you have to agree on what you're going to watch. You have to agree on taking turns. You have to decide on what channel to watch. I'm not going to make that decision for you. You have to decide together, this is what we're going to watch, and this is when we're going to watch it. There was a time I told them we're running a point-based system for them to earn TV rights and other things in the house, and they lose points when there's quarrel, when they can't agree on something. So they are forced to work together. They are forced to solve a problem together. They have a toy to share. They're forced to figure it out. I'm not going to get involved in sharing toys. If you can't figure it out, then it will be better if I remove it from the equation so that there will be peace in my immediate environment. But they say, no, mommy, we'll work it out. And they work it out. And mommy is happy. But they're learning to work together. They're learning to have a brotherhood, which is important to me. Right? That's the future I see. I see two of them very close, very tight, and all of that. So I'm working towards, I'm actively making choices for them daily to work towards that future that I see. Also, acknowledge their feelings, like I mentioned earlier. It's important for you to acknowledge their feelings. One person is upset, they're upset, and that's about that. What they do with that feeling is what you can adjust, or you can teach them to adjust or improve on if you're not happy with the current situation. But you can't say, so that's why you're angry. Why are you angry? Is it enough to be angry? It is enough. They're angry already. It is enough. If it wasn't enough for them to be angry, then they will not be. But they are. And that's that. So you want to help them, you want to acknowledge their feelings, and you want to help them label it. You want them to talk about those feelings. You don't want it bottled up. You don't want them to be internalizing negative feelings. So validate it. Okay, I can understand that you're upset, and I'm sorry that you're upset. So what can we do about it? Let them let it out. Talk about it. Your brother did so and so. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So when he took your toy, how did that make you feel? Oh, I was frustrated. That's okay. I was frustrated because I've been trying to get him to leave my notebook alone, and he toyed. I'm sorry your notebook got torn. I can understand. That would upset me too. You're validating their feelings. You're acknowledging it. You're letting them know that it's okay to be angry. But what is not okay is to go against the ground rules. That's why the ground rules need to come first. If those ground rules are not there, if your family values are not there, then you don't have a foundation to work on. Okay, you say it's not okay to retaliate. So what do I do then? Okay, why is it not okay for me to retaliate? Because it is not love. It is not love. And the child, wow, that's true. That's not love. So because we are a family that, hi sis, because we are a family that is important for us to love each other, then regardless of what the other person does, perceptual code showing up here again, regardless of what they do, they're still your brother, they're still your sister, and you have to love them. So you have taught them those values, and those values will be showing up, and you then remind them, right? The need for you to remind them of those values will be showing up every now and again when there are squabbles or there are issues, and then you can remind them that, remember, it's your brother, she's your sister. We have to love each other, and we have to be respectful. While what they did is not okay, you can't retaliate because it contravenes the family value, and the child is able to process that. And you're not trying to convince the child to buy into that right here, right now. The child already was aware of these values. So it's not like it's because of what happened. That's why you're now creating a way for them not to react, right? So next, don't compare your children. Don't say, can't you be as tidy as so and so person? We're different. What is chaos to me might be organized to you. What is organized to me, you may just wonder, how do I find anything in this setup? Right? You may wonder why everything has to be spotless. Why am I like, if I move this, why would she know? Why would they have a problem? We're different. And that's that about that. we're not the same. So you can't compare. You can't say, can't you do this like this? You want them to be their own person. You want them to have personal responsibility towards their things. Let them let them focus on their focus. Don't say, can't you be like so and so person? Can't you eat quickly like that person? Oh, can't you do that? Because you build resentment between them, and they begin to, the comparison makes them feel inadequate. It's not good for their self-esteem, because they want to be like that person, and then they're not focusing on who they are, and they're amazing, they're special just the way they are, and you are happy with it. I'm reminding you now that you are happy that they are the way they are. Do you want them to be better? Yes, but for them. You want them to be better for them, not because you want them to be like a sibling, right? So don't compare your children. Also be fair. It's important to be fair. Like I said, once there are rules in place, like justice with the scarf, right? Like Lady Justice is blind. Those values are binding on everybody, including you. Again, you're their role model. You are their example. So it can't be okay for you to go against family values if it's not okay for them to go against it. Yes. So you have to be fair. If one person does something to the other, regardless of if it's the older to the younger or the younger to the older, if it's not okay, it is not okay. If somebody needs to apologize to the other person, then somebody needs to apologize. And that's that. It's not a function of, okay, it's because it's your older one now, should he now come and beg you? Yes. Apologize. Say, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry I took something that I didn't ask you before. I took your pencil or bag or whatever. I apologize. And like I said, you're their role model. So if you forgive them quickly, they will learn to forgive each other quickly. If you are a pound of flesh kind of parent, that your child has done something wrong and they must pay, they must pay, they will handle each other the same way. They are learning from you. So you don't want that. That is probably one of the reasons why some people grow into adulthood, and the issue they have with their sibling is like 40 years old, and you're like, let this thing go. But they have not learned to let things go from the people that were supposed to teach them. Okay? So, again, be fair, and also try and approach equity instead of equality. Let me explain that. If one child needs shoes, buy shoes for the child that needs shoes. You don't need to buy shoes. You don't need to buy shoes for all the children in the house, because then someone that actually needs the item now feels that, okay, so every time I get something, the other my brother or my sister gets something too, but they don't even need it. So they are wondering, that's not fairness, right? And then you're teaching your children equity. You're teaching your children contentment. That's the word. Contentment. They're getting what they need when they need it, and then they're able to look out for each other. Oh, mommy, so and so person's item or bag or something is not in a good state. Can you get them something? And then you're teaching them that it's not every time that their sibling gets something that they get it. Okay, then that may not be related to Squabbles, but I just thought to mention that. So if there is an issue, right, between them, try not to ask who started it, because then you're apportioning blame, right? You're blaming one child for the other, might result in a desire for revenge, and you don't want that. You don't want them to be thinking about how to pay their sibling back for something that they did last week. Teach them to let things go, and don't bother. There's no point wanting to know who started it. What you want is for it to end, and you want them to talk about it and to resolve it, right? Every issue has a different approach. Some you would have to have a conversation with all the parties involved and sit down and remind them of family values and tell them, let them know that it's important for them to care for each other and be respectful, and maybe if they try that, maybe this issue won't happen again. Can we try that? Can everybody, all right? Can everybody take a few minutes to calm down? different issues require different approaches, but there's really no point asking a long story. Don't blame one child for the other, because you don't want a vengeful spirit in them. Now, if you need to, if you have not laid down those ground rules that I pointed out, you may need to put physical distance between them. If it's becoming physical, right, you need to separate them. You don't let them fight it out. No, that is not teaching them anything, because at the end of the day, the person with the stronger arm, with the more strength at that point in time, will win. But you have also succeeded in telling them it's okay to fight once you're strong, except you want to raise Mayweather and co, who will be fighting random people on the streets, not even for a sport. If that's not your goal, if that's not the future that you see, then you don't want to encourage physical I don't want to say physical activity, because that's exercise, but physical whatever, fighting, right, between your children. You don't want to encourage that. And if they need to calm down, maybe things are getting heated, then you can ask them to go to separate spaces and internalize those values that you've taught them before. And I've talked about putting family values in every room in the house, so maybe when they see it, they're reminded that, okay, I need to calm all the way down, I need to remember to be respectful. Okay, what I did is not okay. Then you're teaching them to come to the realization that what they did to their sibling is not okay, and then they can apologize and make up once everybody feels, yes, combat, thank you. You don't want them to they can apologize and move past it and forget it and handle it once they come to the realization on their own. Also, create a weekly time to do something enjoyable together as a family. You're forming bonds, you're helping them to have a sense of belonging to the family, you're helping them have form stronger bonds between each other. And then remember, every now and again, it's important for you to think about self-care. Now, these children will wear you out. Trust me, they will wear you out. So you want to constantly or consistently find avenues for you to be able to calm down and relax, so that you are in the right frame of mind to remember all this story that I've been discussing since, right? So that you're in the right frame of mind to remember, and so that you're not shouting and raising your voice and yelling, because you're calm and you're zen and you're able to say, okay, all right, everybody needs to calm down and take a break. When you are calm is when you can say everybody needs to take a break. Okay, you can remember the family values when you're calm. So you need to think of self-care. You don't want to continue to run on fumes. You need to be able to think about yourself and calm yourself down too, because they are stronger than you. They have more energy than you do, so they can keep going. they can keep going, but you need to conserve your energy, because you are doing a whole lot more of things. So you need to conserve your energy and manage yourself and take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. So you need to find ways, identify those things that help you calm down, so that you don't get agitated and you don't react, you respond. So I think I have a few more tips here. Make your children feel important. It's important. When self-esteem is intact, then children are less likely to bully each other, right? So you have to be careful to ensure that they feel important, they feel valued. You're communicating their love languages to them. They are feeling respected in the house, so they don't need to do funny things to get your attention. You're meeting their attention needs. You're looking out for them. They are aware that if anything happens, they can come to you. They don't feel the need to take matters into their own hands, right? And they know that, okay, if they come to you, they will get a solution, not for you to diminish them or reduce them and say, so that's why you're crying. That's why you're crying. Then they will feel the need to retaliate. Okay, so your children need to feel important. Focus on each child's needs, get to know them, their personality, what it is that makes them tick. I'm still running that program. If you need it, figure it out. So meet them at the point of their needs. That's what I'm trying to say. Focus on their needs, and again, remind them of the rules when gently remind them of the rules when there is a need for it, when there's an issue on ground. Help your children express themselves, help them articulate what it is that they are feeling, validate their feelings. And when making these rules, these ground rules, have a conversation. Include them in it so that they are aware. Okay, there's no point there being rules and consequences in the house and they don't know. So it's when you want to dish it out that they are being told, no, that's not fair. Carry them along, agree on what the rules and the consequences for what actions are, so that it will not come as a surprise, right? When they do something wrong, they have picked up the consequence. So remember remind them and carry them along that it's a choice making situation. So when you are choosing the action, you're choosing the consequence along with it. It's not a surprise. It's not it's not magic. You choose the action, you choose the consequence, so that they are learning and they're growing and they're becoming better. Let them work it out. Let them work it out, right? As much as you can, butt out of their issues. Once values are in place, stay out of it. Tell them to work it out. They can let you know once they have worked it out, but let them get used to resolving issues with each other. You don't need to know everything. Trust me, you don't need to know everything. Don't fall in the trap of that narcissistic tendency of knowing everything that your children are discussing, especially as they grow older. You will just wear yourself out. When they bring it to you, put them out. When they bring it to you, yes, have an opinion. But when they don't, just stay out of it. So let them practice those things from now that they're young. Hi Mayo, welcome. You need to watch this from the beginning. We have said a lot, but thank you for joining. Hi, welcome. So, like I said, let them work things out. Let them get used to working things out now, right? So that when they're older, when the issues are bigger, they're able to resolve it amongst themselves. So what's your action plan for today? Family values. That's what you need to do. First, you need to see that picture that I talked about, and then you need to agree on what your values are. You need to set ground rules. If you haven't done that before now, you need to do that as soon as possible. Set ground rules before there's an issue, before there's a squabble, before there is an attempt at physical combat in your home. Set those ground rules now. So regardless of what their sibling does, they don't step outside that. They don't. So you don't have to worry about somebody breaking a bottle on the other person's head, or somebody saying something very hurtful or disrespectful to the other person. No. Set those ground rules now. Yes, thank you. Set those ground rules now. Now that your children are young and are growing, set ground rules now. If it's not okay to hit, it is not okay to hit. And then it is not okay for you to hit too. Because those family values apply to every member of the family. If respect is important in communication, then you have to communicate with your children respectfully, because they are learning. Where else would they learn these things from, except from us? So, those are the things that I have written down. So I'm going to close my book now. I hope I have helped this evening. I hope you have a different or a new perspective to settling issues. So, get ahead of it. Systems are important. Communication systems are important in your home. Value system is important in your home. Discipline system is important in your home. And as your children grow, carry them along. Talk to them about it. And like we said when we started, we are victorious by God's grace in this journey of parenting. We're raising children who are examples, who are self-reliant, self-aware, who are self-motivated, who are able to handle themselves, who don't need you to be hovering around them till when you're not supposed to, right? That's what intentional parenting is about. You are parenting till the point where you don't need to parent anymore, so that you can enjoy your life while your children are doing very, very well. So put in the work now put in the work so that you can rest later, right? Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Efe. Thank you, Mayo. Thank you, Dia, for joining. I will see you sometime soon. Let me not commit to next week, or maybe I should, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. If there are any questions for me, please send me a DM if you need to find out your child's personality type, run an assessment, and get a few other added information, discipline, communication, a projection of the adults that child is likely to turn out as, if you do what is necessary. Yes, I'll be glad to help with that. Send me a DM. I think the link is still in my bio. So thank you all so much. Thank you for thanking me. Thank you. See you. Bye. Ciao, ciao. Be nice to those children. God bless you. And God strengthen you in Jesus' name. All right. Thank you again. Bye-bye. Yes, you do have to watch from the beginning, Maya. Yes, you do.